Welcome, everyone. I am Mr. Williams, and I am here for another exciting episode of Sankofa Inner City Cultural League, and we are virtual. You are more than welcome to join us here at the center. But for those of you who cannot, we're coming to you virtually. We've been talking about voting since last week, and we got an understanding of what it is to vote for the president, and we also talked about the different parties. So we understand that we have a president who's either Democratic, and we have his opponent who is going to be Republican, or vice versa. We know in the upcoming elections, we are going to be voting for both either a continuation of our current president and vice president, or we're going to be voting for a new president and vice president. But there are also some other people that are going to be on the ballot, and I want to talk about some of them today. There are going to be senators and House of Representatives that we get an opportunity to vote for, and I wanted us to take an opportunity to get a better understanding of what they do. So I've looked and found a video that can explain to all of us what they do, so we have a better understanding when we talk about the importance of these people and why we should do the research on them to find out who we really want in office. We have that information, because the one thing that we've come to understand with our lessons previous is that we have to do research. We want to know who we're voting for, and we want to make sure that we're voting for the people who are going to represent our best interest. And that's not just the president and the vice president. There are other people that the president must work with and the vice president must work with to make our interests come out. So I want us today to look at what senators and House of Representative individuals do. So give me a moment. I will share my screen with the video that I intend for us to watch. So give me one moment, please. This video, this gentleman is going to talk to us about the difference between the different houses. So here we go.
Hey there, students. In this lecture, I'm going to give you a quick primer on the key characteristics of the Senate and the House, so that you will know for your government exam what are the key characteristics of each house and how may the two be compared. Shout out to Michael Link in Florida. Thank you for all the tutoring sessions and all that kind of stuff. I hope you do great. So let's go ahead and start off with the Senate. All right, so first of all, the Senate is known as the upper house, all right, of the legislature, which was originally conceived by the framers to be more aristocratic. Remember, when the Constitution was originally written before the 17th Amendment, that senators were indirectly appointed by the state legislature instead of directly elected by the people. Now, of course, the 17th Amendment has changed that, but that house still has a bit of its aristocratic history in its traditions. So the upper house has 2 senators per state. That's because this house was intended to be the federal house, where every state, no matter how big or how small, has the same representation as a result of the Great Compromise. So 2 senators from California, 2 senators from Wyoming. 6-year terms. The intent of the framers was that the Senate would be an insulated body where they could debate the questions of the day and treaties and foreign relations and all of that kind of stuff in the style of the Roman Senate, but without the constant interference of public opinion, so that the senators can do what's best for the country, even if it may not be immediately popular. 100 senators, so the Senate is the smaller of the 2 houses. And it is chaired by the vice president, who is not a member. The vice president may vote to break a tie, but the vice president cannot vote to create a tie because the vice president is not a member of that body. And of course, the Senate has the tradition of unlimited debate. Being a smaller body with aristocratic traditions and all of that kind of stuff, that's why you hear about the filibuster as a distinctive feature of the Senate. Then, an impeachment trial will happen in the Senate. Now, that is once the House has already drawn up articles of impeachment. Remember that just because a president is impeached doesn't mean that they are removed from office. So, senatorial courtesy here. This is a tradition in the Senate that when you hear senators refer to each other, the honorable gentleman from Massachusetts or the senator from Florida or something like that, that they typically will not refer to each other by name even. And of course, the filibuster comes from this tradition of senatorial courtesy that someone has the floor as long as they hold the floor, that there are no time limits in speaking or anything like that. And then, of course, when it comes to nominations, the House has absolutely no role when it comes to the nominations of federal judges, of cabinet members, of ambassadors to other countries. Those all go through the Senate. The president nominates someone, and those people are confirmed by the Senate, with the House having absolutely no role. So confirmation of presidential appointments, that is a distinctive feature of the Senate. And then finally, by a 2/3 vote, the Senate may ratify or reject treaties that are negotiated by the president. So the point of the Senate here is to assist the president in his role of chief diplomat and make sure that the treaties that he brings back are in the best interest of the country. So now on to the House, which is known as the lower house. Now, of course, this was intended by the framers to be the more democratic house, the house that directly represents the people. And the representation in the lower house is proportional, which the intent here is for this to be the national house. James Madison wrote in Federalist 39 that the government that's being created is partly national, but also partly federal. There are 2-year terms. And so the point here is that this House will be more directly accountable to the people, and they are supposed to be responsive to popular opinion. The framers did not believe in democracy per se, but they believed in the Aristotelian tradition that the government should have a democratic element, and that's what's intended here. The House is a larger body with 435 members and chaired by the Speaker of the House, who is typically a member of that body, and I think always has been, even though the Constitution does not say, strictly speaking, that that has to be the case. There's limited debate. Now, of course, this House does not have the same aristocratic traditions, and also there are more people there. So arguments in the House, you have the floor for this long, and then you have to sit down. Now, of course, articles of impeachment are drawn up in the House. I'd mentioned that impeachment trials occur in the Senate, but articles of impeachment are drawn up in the House. And so just because a president's impeached does not mean that the president's removed from office. That 2 presidents have been impeached, Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton. 1 president has resigned from office, Richard Nixon, in order to avoid impeachment and likely removal from office. But no president has ever been removed from office. Now, the one distinctive power of the House, besides drawing up articles of impeachment before they can go to the Senate, where cooler heads can prevail, is that all revenue bills must originate in the House. Now, remember, when you go back to the American Revolution, no taxation without representation. So revenue bills having to do with taxation must originate in the House, where the House is closer to the people, and the decision to tax should start with this more democratic House. So here are both of these bodies. If you want to pause it and just take a look, comparing, of course, the Senate is a House with a smaller amount of people. It's the federal House. There are these traditions of courtesy and aristocracy and all of that kind of stuff, whereas the House is a larger body that is intended to be national in scope and more democratic and directly representative of the people. If you learned something, feel free to subscribe.
Right. Thank you, sir, for providing that information to us. And why that was important, because again, we want to do the research that tells us what our senator for our particular district and our representatives for our particular area are about. We have to look at the types of things that they have voted for and against in the past, so that we can make appropriate decisions as to whether or not we wish to re-elect them, or if we wish to elect the people that are coming in to replace them. It is important that, again, we continue to do this research when we're talking about elections, because it's information that we need when we go to vote. Yes, we can vote for the person that looks like you or sounds like you, or you saw them somewhere and then there was something about them that grabbed you. But if they're not going to represent your interests, what's important for you, for your family, for your community, more importantly, when we talk about to you students, if they're not going to represent what's good for your education and your school, then you might want to talk to mom and dad and let them understand that that may not be the person that they want to vote for. There may be other issues why mom and dad thinks they're best, but again, it allows you and mom and dad to have a conversation about the person that's going to frame your environment, your country, your city, your state. And it's you want to be involved in that, and you want to stay involved in that. Um, Voting is very, very important. It is how we are heard. So you definitely want to encourage mom and dad to get out and vote in the next few days. And you want to, when it's your opportunity to vote, you definitely want to go out and vote. I am Mr. Williams. I thank you for having joined us today. Till next time, take care.